I'm Pat Doris. Welcome to The Story. We're beginning in an unusual place with an unusual building. It's part of an unusual program that's very good at getting the homeless off the streets and into stability. And they've done it with virtually no government support. At least without local government help. The state legislature has kicked in to help transform the former Wapato Jail in North Portland into a thriving high-barrier shelter for people who are homeless. High barrier means people cannot just walk in off the street. They have to be referred by one of the 80 partners who send homeless to what's now called the Bybee Lakes Hope Center. They also have to be clean and sober, and follow rules, and be accountable. Alan Evans is the founder and CEO. His past includes 25 years of being homeless himself.
We're a low barrier entry into our facilities with a high barrier model. You see, we believe that compassion and accountability is what we want to invest in the people that live on our streets and our communities, so we can provide the best person as they move back into our communities to be sustainable.
This day, Evans is celebrating the expansion of Bybee Lakes Hope Center, now with room for up to 318 people.
Today we now have 318 beds open for this community. For 14 months, we've had 126 beds open on one side of this building, and we were pushing about 90% capacity, and we realized that this expansion is extremely important to our communities.
Evans led a tour of the facility that included a visiting area when residents have friends drop by.
So for movie nights and other programs that we have going on, we have a full theater room.
And rooms that will soon hold medical and dental facilities.
We're really excited about this portion of opening up. This is our medical wing. We're working with OHSU Family Practice to bring medical services on site. We're in the process of that.
And a licensed daycare area that Evans said is coming soon and will hold up to 30 children. He's also excited about the large garden on the side of the building, which had 170 trees planted last year.
We have 126 fruit-bearing trees, which last year, right after we planted, we got apples off of, we got figs off of.
There's also an industrial kitchen, which will double as a teaching area for food prep and nutrition, along with a dining room and laundry rooms as well. Under the Bybee Lakes model, people can stay here for up to 60 days, free of charge, and sometimes longer if they need more time. After that, they're expected to get a job. Evans said 50% have full-time jobs within a mile of the facility. Then they pay $250 a month for their bed space. This, by the way, is one of the new sections. With the expansion, Bybee Lakes will have a special area for people from the LGBTQ community. Evans said it cost about $6 million to get the Bybee Lakes Hope Center converted into the space it is today, and yearly costs are roughly $2.4 million. He's made it this far, but now hopes local governments will finally kick in and help.
You know, at the end of the day, this cannot work without a public and private partnership. It just can't. To continually go to our major donors and say, give us more so we could do, give us more so we could do, isn't sustainable.
It's unclear if that will happen. Multnomah County said Bybee Lakes recently applied for a $1 million grant. Whether they get that has not been decided. But up to this point, Multnomah County has had a chilly reception to Bybee Lakes.
It's not as if we wouldn't want to work with them. It's that when we are funding things, our model is low barrier shelter, right? That's where we have decided our funding is best aimed. We want to increase the number of places where folks can go immediately and then stay for a little while if they need to.
In the meantime, the United Way of the Columbia Willamette has stepped up and donated $1.2 million, which funded the recent expansion. It's part of $20 million given to the organization by philanthropist billionaire Mackenzie Scott, the ex-wife of Jeff Bezos. The United Way's Cindy Adams said Bybee Lakes works and should be supported.
It is one model that works very well. We need a continuum of services and programs in our community if we want to serve more people, and it requires intention and understanding of how they need to be served, what resources we have to serve them, and making some decisions about what those priorities are.
In the meantime, Alan Evans is proud his facility is expanding and overcoming the many challenges it has faced.
And today we are extremely grateful to say that we finally did it at this building. People said it was impossible. When we first came to this community, we heard that multiple times. There's zoning issues, there's all kind of issues, there's travel issues, there's so many different issues why this wouldn't work. But we want to tell you is it's all possible.
By the way, I wanted today to talk to some of the people going through the program, but that was not allowed. There is a lot of history behind that building, that old Wapato Jail, and it's okay if you don't understand it all. We have you covered. Let's take a look at how we got here. For about 2 decades, it seemed like Wapato went nowhere fast, or maybe like nowhere slow, until pretty recently. So how did we get here? Back in 1996, voters approved $46 million in bonds to build the jail, responding to an uptick in drug arrests in the city. And the state threw in $12 million more. But on the same ballot, voters also chose to make it hard for the county to raise the money needed to keep the place running. That pretty much set the tone for the whole project. After a long search for a location, the county decided on an area next to Bybee Lake in North Portland. And that's where the jail was built in 2003. But not long after that, the county acknowledged they didn't actually have the money to operate it. So it sat empty, costing taxpayers between $300,000 and $400,000 a year just to keep it open. The county looked for someone to take it off their hands, but they weren't allowed to sell it until 2016, when the bonds used to build the jail were finally paid off. That's around the time people started talking about using it as a homeless shelter. But the city of Portland decided it would cost too much to convert it. In 2018, the county voted to sell the $58 million jail for just $5 million, a $53 million loss. In 2019, its new owner, Jordan Schnitzer, thought about demolishing it and getting rid of the headache once and for all. But that same year, Helping Hands Reentry Outreach Center started campaigning to transform the jail into Bybee Lake's Hope Center. The homeless shelter opened its doors October 2020, complete with on-site addiction treatment programs and job training. And that is how we got here. By the way, Mackenzie Scott is also donating some of her money to help address another big part of the homeless crisis, the lack of affordable housing in the Portland metro area. Tim Gordon has a look at how Habitat for Humanity will put that money to good use.
Habitat for Humanity has been building affordable homes for decades here in Portland and across the country. Now, thanks to a massive donation, the Portland Region Habitat will have millions more to work with, and leader Steve Messinetti is thrilled.
I mean, that's a transformational gift for us. It is a big deal, the largest gift we've ever received. And I mean, we're really thrilled that Mackenzie Scott chose to give such a big donation to Habitat here as well as nationally.
Mackenzie Scott is the former wife of Jeff Bezos. She just gave $436 million to Habitats for Humanity across the nation. The Portland region gets $8.5 million of it.
That's amazing. I mean, it's a blessing, right?
Sandra Acosta Casillas is thrilled about the gift, too. She moved into a new Habitat home in 2014 with 4 kids, escaping a cramped, expensive rental apartment that was making life very difficult.
I can't tell you how many times I cried. I was like, okay, I have to pay rent because I don't want to get kicked out. And then where do I go for food?
The move to home ownership changed her life.
Today I'm stable enough to say that I can afford my mortgage and pay it off when it's due in 15 years and say that I own something.
These are the kind of success stories the multi-million-dollar gift will help make happen over and over again. And it is needed. The affordable housing crisis has developed over decades as prices have climbed and wages have not kept up by any stretch.
And what that means is that more and more households are paying more than half their income on rent. And when you're making $40,000 and you're paying half of that to rent, it doesn't leave enough for your family's basic life necessities. And that's not good for all of us.
Messinetti says Habitat is currently building more than 100 homes in the Portland region. The multi-million-dollar gift will allow them to do a lot more in the years to come in different ways.
That will mean building more homes, repairing more homes, but we also see this really as a catalyst, not to just do a little more of what we've always done, but to be a kind of game changer for us in changing markets and changing policies that create smart housing policies that create more affordable housing across the region.
Tim Gordon, KGW News.
Now let's move on to another solution to the crisis on our streets. The Portland Street Response Team, which is set to expand citywide next week. The program is meant to provide a non-armed response to various 911 calls involving homeless and mental health issues. It's been lauded by supporters as a holistic and legitimate alternative to police. The pilot program, which began February of 2021, sent several teams of EMTs, mental health crisis responders, and peer specialists to certain 911 calls in the Lentz neighborhood. A Portland State University research team tracked the team's impact on that neighborhood, and here's what they found. There was a slight reduction in police being sent to calls that they traditionally are assigned to, things like crime, but a pretty sizable reduction in police being sent to calls for non-emergency welfare checks and calls for unwanted or suspicious persons. That means street response was sent out instead of police officers. They were also able to step in for the fire department on some calls involving behavioral health or illegal burns. Just a small number of calls handled by the team required someone to be taken to the ER. As for the people being helped, well, they generally gave street response 5 out of 5 stars. We talked with the program manager, Robin Burek, a couple of months ago about what her teams learned during that pilot project.
What we're learning from the day shift versus the night shift is a difference in call volume, and to some extent, a slight difference in the level of acuity and types of calls that we're getting sent to. So it's been really interesting. The night shift hasn't been as active as we expected it to be.
That is interesting. Because of those findings, the street response team will work mostly daytime hours during the week and then evenings or overnight shifts during the weekends.
What we've learned thus far with our 2 shifts, having a day shift and an evening shift, is that with the evening shift not being as busy as our day shift, we're not going to need necessarily 6 vans out in the middle of the night to go out there. So that's one of the things that we've taken away from this pilot, is that we will staff according to the need and the volume of calls that we get and what we're seeing with this pilot.
The expansion made possible by funding from City and Council will add 13 full-time employees to Portland Street Response, which brings their total employee number to 18 people across 6 vans. This includes a handful of peer support specialists who have experience with mental health, substance abuse, or homelessness. We're expecting an official announcement from the city about this expansion next week, which may have a few more details, but because you're smart and you're watching the story, you now know about it before anyone else. We'll keep you updated. When we come back, we'll hear from some of the top Democrats in Oregon running for governor, how they would unite the state and the legislature. Right after this. Welcome back to The Story. Keep sending your questions and comments to thestory@kgw.com or give us a call. Leave us a voicemail, 503-226-5090. We're a different kind of show. We really do read all your comments. We listen to all your phone calls. Some of you have said, I look forward to you calling me back. We're not calling you back. There's a lot of you, but we do appreciate those comments. All right, let's take a look at this. This is a map of how each Oregon county voted for president in 2020. Isn't that wild? Look at all that red. Yes, Joe Biden won the state, but you can see tons of red on the map. It's a pretty clear example of just how divided Oregon is when it comes to politics. And we know this is also true in our state legislature. This week, we're asking the top candidates for governor what they would do to reach across the aisle to try and unite our state. We've heard from the Republicans, so now let's see what the Democrats have to say. Up first, former House Speaker Tina Kotek, who had a lot of experience as a leader in the legislature.
Well, I do think that in a democratic institution, you will have differences of opinion. As Speaker of the House, my job was to make sure every member was able to advocate for their district and be successful. And that's what I'm going to do as governor. I believe that when every part of the state is successful, it's good for all of us. And the way I think you manage that as governor is you get out of Salem and you go and do a lot of listening and a lot of talking in communities around the state. People need to see you, they need to be able to talk with you directly, and it's an opportunity to try to solve problems together. There are a lot of issues in our state that are not partisan. Look, we're gonna have partisan issues, very ideological issues, but generally, people just want to solve problems. They want to know that, they're going to have a good job, that they can afford their house, that they have health care. I'm going to stick to those things that everybody wants to work on, and I think that's one way you get through the divisiveness that's out there right now.
Next, State Treasurer Tobias Reed, who has experience as both a local and a statewide elected official.
I served in the legislature for 10 years, and I had great relationships with people that I didn't agree with. I think of a couple in particular. When I was the whip for the Democratic caucus, my counterpart on the Republican side was Tim Freeman, who's now a Douglas County Commissioner, and we used to joke that we agreed on just about zero, but we worked really well together because we were honest with each other. He would tell me what his caucus was going to do, I would tell him what our caucus was going to do, and we worked really well together. I enjoy being in other parts of the state. Being a statewide elected official, forces me to listen to people that I don't agree with, and to try to assemble coalitions. I think those are important qualities, as well as trustworthiness in a governor.
You can watch the full interview with both Kotek and Reed on KGW's YouTube channel. By the way, Oregon's primary is less than 2 months away now on May 17th. The general election is happening November 8th. Speaking of elections, let's check in on the results so far for Yamhill County's latest recall. Voters are deciding whether to remove Conservative County Commissioner Lindsay Berschauer. This, of course, comes after a recall against controversial Newburgh school board members failed earlier this year. So far, this one also going down. The latest results show more than 52% of voters rejecting the recall, meaning they want to keep Berschauer. Ballots had to be dropped off or postmarked by 8 p.m. last night, so some could still be in the mail, and it could change the results. We will let you know if that happens. There's a pretty high turnout so far for a special election, with more than 44% of registered voters in the county. Still ahead, when you see the cherry blossom trees in full bloom along the Portland waterfront, you probably think about how beautiful they are. But climate scientists, they look with a different eye, and they ask how climate change might be impacting them. We'll talk about that next. Those of you who have already called, left voice messages, or sent us emails, I'm so moved by it, it's hard for me to talk. But some of you have thanked us already for that Bobby Lake story, and you're the reason we did the story. People have been emailing saying, what's going on out there? So now you know. Moving on, have you checked out the cherry blossoms on the Portland waterfront lately? If not, you should, because they're in full bloom and they are gorgeous. There's actually a pretty interesting history behind them, by the way. The trees were a gift from Japan for the dedication of the Japanese American Historical Plaza in 1990. It's right next to the old town Chinatown, which was also known as Japantown. A lot of Japanese immigrants lived and worked in the area before World War II. But during the war, 120,000 Japanese Americans nationwide were sent to internment camps that included about 4,000 from Oregon. The plaza now tells the story of these hardships through poems, sculptures, and of course the cherry blossom trees. Our photojournalist Kurt Austin went to check out the flowers in full bloom.
It's very inspiring. The blossoms are just breathtaking right now. They're at their peak. It's a tradition for Portland.
That's gorgeous. My name is John Johnson. I'm out here taking photos of the blossoms. I've seen the images before, so I wanted to capture some myself, The arrival of spring's coming. That's basically what it says to me,
The beginning of spring. Look at her, look at you. Time! My name is Melinda Conway. I'm out here photographing my daughter's senior pictures, kind of informally with her new puppy. We're grabbing a moment, a special moment together.
Great photos, beautiful out here.
It's just nice, it's tranquil, So, I'm not the only one out here doing it too, so.
Exactly. Okay, bye. สวย
It's so great. It feels warm, sun's coming out, so it's awesome.
Yeah, it's nice to see Portland kind of like come out of, especially COVID, during cherry blossom season.
You go through winter and war and all sorts of bad things happening in the world, but nature still is marching on. And you can count on these trees. They will eventually bloom.
It's a nice time of year to be out here. Everybody's happy.
One word, gorgeous.
I am happy.
Less rain, more sun.
It's nice. It's very nice.
Yes, it is. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes, Kurt Austin capturing those moments. Well done, sir. Quite the beautiful sight out there right now, but, since we're the news, we still like to ask tougher questions like, how's climate change impacting those cherry blossom trees on the waterfront? Well, we talked to a Portland State professor who specializes in this very topic.
The cherry blossoms are a little bit, they're well established, they're older trees. And so the trees and the things that are older and have been around a little bit longer usually tend to have a bit more resilience to them. So they're kind of like able to withstand a lot more of the kind of pressures of temperature, of rain, of frost, of snow, etc. Though the younger trees and saplings are the ones that or the ones that are really, really old. Similar to humans, kind of the younger and the older tend to be more vulnerable to a variety of different environmental pressures, whether it be air pollution or temperature. And we're seeing that very similar reflection in the trees as well. So we're still trying to figure out what the damage is from that heat dome event that happened last year. One of the things that we're getting better understanding of is these extreme events like the heat dome event are things we've never seen before and never actually have empirical, meaning real world measurements around. And so what we're going to be doing this year is paying really close attention to what's happening in our natural environment to see what are those effects. The fact that a heat dome came in early in the summer and then we had back-to-back heat waves come through the Portland metro region, what a lot of us are speculating is that that's going to have had a very acute effect on the vegetation in the region.
All right. Thank you, Professor, for filling us in on that. Hey, when we come back, you'll get a chance to make a difference on local hunger. You can help fight it right after this. Want to do something good? Here's your chance. Get involved with the Hey Help campaign. We're asking you to donate to the KGW Great Food Drive. Good news, we've upped our goal. It's now 1.5 million because we've already cracked the 1 million meals to give to those who need it. So far, we're at 1.26 million. You can help by dropping off non-perishable food at local Toyota dealers. To see the ways you can donate or if you yourself need assistance, visit kgw.com/food drive. We also want to thank Pacific Office Automation, local Toyota dealers, Rivermark Community Credit Union, and Safeway for supporting this year's drive. Hey, that's the end of our show. Thanks for watching. Remember, the story, our story, that never ends. We'll see you tomorrow.